Alright, this video is about how to play the guitar with less tension and more comfort. It all starts with how we sit. Now, if you have a strap, you can put that on. That can help a little bit. And your strap should be at the same height, roughly. You know, it's up to your preference, but the same height, roughly, whether you sit down or stand up. It shouldn't move that much. Mine went up a little bit. I could probably loosen it a little bit, but should be roughly at the same. You can wear it up a little higher or lower, but basically the idea with the strap is you don't need to hold your guitar to keep it afloat. All right, so once we're sitting, there's some postural elements like, you know, are we sitting with our shoulders back and relaxed? Are we feeling comfy and upright? That's the first level, and that really helps us in life too. We're just tuning in on where we're holding tension and whether we're sitting or standing, just to try to relax into a good posture, right? And so the guitar is kind of big, you know, my shoulder is going to be basically like, if I were sitting, I would want my shoulders to be even and relaxed, but we're over here, so a nice comfortable position. And then the back of the guitar should go, we have this little curve on the back of the instrument, and we got this curve right here, so I want to give a lot of space here, and you know, this is going to be my normal position for chord playing, right? So I want to have lots of space for my fingers to curve around naturally and make this strong arch shape on the chords. Now, if I were here, see that, I lose a lot of strength, stability. And then the third thing is that most of this, you know, the clarity and pushing down the strings comes from the shape, this arch shape. You're not always going to be able to do that, but in most chords you can have an arch shape, and you don't need to push down on the strings very hard. That is an important point. A lot of beginners tend to push down the strings pretty hard. Not always, but thinking you need to push down harder than you do is pretty common. So, you know, try it out. Get in a good form, starting with the back of the guitar, you know, pressed kind of against the thumb, not too hard, just hanging out there so you have lots of space for these fingers to curve around and make chords, reach different places. And each chord you're going to adjust, so be flexible in like where you need to move, right? Your thumb's not always going to be up. Certain chords, it'll be on the, you know, bar chords especially, it'll be on the back of the neck. So allow for some movement to get to the place you need to go without creating tension. So and see how hard you actually need to push down like a simple chord to make it sound right. Like, I'm not pushing down very hard at all, but I'm getting full clarity. Anyways, you can be playing whatever you want. You can just try that out. And as you're playing, notice if you're holding any tension, whether it's in your wrist, on your shoulder, anywhere else, and just try to relax into it, breathe it out, and allow yourself to shift. And I kind of consider this like a reset. If I find myself in a weird position or with any of my students, I want to reset. And the first thing I do is I go back here, putting the guitar right there, so I have lots of space, and then start with a simple chord. Now you're gonna have to change. You're gonna have to. This is the next point that I wanted to get to, is that when you get here's a really important thing for all kinds of playing, right? When you get to this point, a lot of people we go, when you set up, you're like, okay, and you go straight to the chord, right? You know, you don't really know where you're gonna end up, but this is a good reset, and to get the right form going in your playing. Nice comfortable form. You won't injure yourself. I dealt with a tendonitis in my wrist just from playing with poor posture for a lot of years, so I had to fix a lot of things. And once the habits form, it's a little bit hard to break, but I definitely had to break bad habits in my technique that caused injury many years ago. And since I shifted up, I haven't had injuries since, and I'm able to play much longer, play much clearer, better. All right, so what I wanted to show you here is this. So you get to this point, right, where you put the guitar in the slot, and then you should be able to, without bending your wrist, move down the neck, up the neck, right? This is a undervalued thing. And now when you're playing chords, you're gonna shift slightly. Say we go to C next. There's a little bit of a shift back, so I want to get this in the right place to play the next chord, and then I go to the chord and have a nice arch shape. And then if I go to D, I'm going to move up just slightly on these open chords. You can barely perceive it. But if I go to, say, a bar chord, I want to get there, right? See that? And this is going to come into play with lead playing. That's what I wanted to get to next. If you're playing different notes, right? A lot of times a beginner might try to do this, or you know you want to play this note, and this note. So what you don't want to do is go like this, unless you have huge hands. But see that? No, I want to release the note after I'm done playing it. And I like to start out, if you're lead playing, just try one finger, right? You're not going to end up playing that way. So say I got 3 notes, I'm going to go like this. And I'm going to slide my wrist. I'm not going to try to reach my finger. No, I'm going to get to the right position for the next note and the next note. So each one feels very comfortable and in the right place, and that goes through that movement. So when we get to different fingers, then still want to do that. I don't just want to reach. No, I felt that tension in my wrists. I want to go. And then I slide to the next place I need to be, even if whether I'm changing fingers or not. I want to move to the note. Bring the horse to water, I think it said. I want to bring the horse to water, so I don't have to carry a bunch of water to where I'm going. So always keep that on a swivel, I guess. All right, so that was the left hand, and for the strumming hand, which if you're lefty is your left hand, but for most people, right-handed, your strumming hand, there's many different ways that you could strum, and sometimes beginners use their thumb. So that one's pretty easy to get the downbeat of, right? You can also use these 4 fingers. So a lot of the tension in this hand comes from when you're playing a little faster. We start to go fast and then we tense up. And that's true with the pick too, right? But actually what you need to do in order to play faster is to get looser. And there's certain things with the thumb, but that's the general theme I wanted to share, is that to play faster, you have to loosen up a little bit. And now the way I play, and a lot of times the places we experience tension when we play fast or in general is like in the wrist, in the forearm, in the hand too, lots of different, in the shoulder. So again, when you're playing, notice if there's any tension in any of these areas. Now the way I teach, playing without tension is it all comes from the small movement in the wrist. Now some of our wrists might be a little bit tight, but with all the different styles of playing, this is helpful, right? You don't want to be moving from here, from the elbow, or, there's going to be a little bit of movement as you're playing, but really most of it comes from gravity and just a little bit of muscle to pull it up. you don't want to use your small muscles, right? You want to use posture, all these elements, gravity, everything you're working with. So in a slow way, I'm just kind of letting it drop, whatever. Drop, here's the pick. Drop, 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 drop. Now that's with the pick. Same thing with these 4 fingers. I'm letting it drop from right there. Now I'm not pulling it, and there is some movement of like, it's kind of, I'm like dropping, my whole hand's moving, right? But I want to do it without holding tension. That's the key. However you're playing, can you reduce the tension and how you're doing it? By working with elements of posture, gravity. Breath, that's a key one. A lot of times as beginners, or not as beginners, but at all levels, when we encounter something difficult, we tend to hold our breath, right? But actually in those moments so as we're playing, most important thing is breathing. Number 1 above all, check if you're breathing. I always know when people aren't breathing in the studio, and I'm like, but for myself, sometimes I don't catch it, right? As we're playing, that makes it so enjoyable. That's why singing helps, because when we're singing, we're breathing, or humming, that kind of thing. So keeping our breath going is super important. Now, so we're every so often check to see where you're holding tension and see if you can release it. If it's over here, maybe a lot of times it comes from this, like a bent wrist, and then we feel it in the upper part of our hand and on this whole side. Sometimes it's like the other way, bent wrist that way, you feel it all on this side. Sometimes we're gripping the strings too hard, we feel it in our fingers. So this will allow you to play with so much more joy, longevity, and ease as you're playing. Always finding the easiest, closest, most comfortable position to play something, and avoiding shapes that are not within your flexibility or anatomy level. So if you got huge hands, you're going to be able to play other things, right? If you have big old fingers, it's going to be hard to make certain strings ring, right? So I think that's about it. All I wanted to share on that. If you have any questions, just reply here or let me know. Going out to different places. So let me know how I can support you in your musical journey. Peace.